Hello there. I'm Christine Zips with Zips Media, and it's my pleasure today to welcome back again a man who is he's just an expert in his field. I've had the opportunity to have a recorded conversation with him several times before, so he's not new to the Zips Media stage. I'd like to welcome Tom DeWeese, but before we bring him out, I'd like to say a few words. He's the founder and president of the American Policy Center and one of the nation's most consistent defenders of private property rights and American sovereignty. For more than 4 decades, he's been sounding the alarm on the quiet transfer of power that begins when private power is treated as optional. He was among the very first to expose the real-world consequences of Agenda 21 and its later versions, Agenda 2030, the Green New Deal, and the Great Reset. And he continues to equip local citizens and elected officials with the tools to push back. Author of the bestseller Sustainable, The War on Free Enterprise, Private Property and Individuals, Tom doesn't just write about freedom. He organizes for it, trains for it, and has spent a lifetime refusing to let it slip away unnoticed. Thank you, Tom. Welcome. We're lovely to have you here again.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Shall we dive in?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, such a big topic, but I haven't taken the liberty of putting together a few questions that I thought would be helpful to guide you through the material I know you'd like to share today. So the first one up is, can you give us a quick big picture update on the AI data center explosion and why you see it as one of the most important battles right now?
Yeah, we are facing a situation where technology is beginning to take over every aspect of our lives. And AI, artificial intelligence, is the big thing that every community, every business, every government, they're all focused on this to use it. And it is I see the danger of this. I'm not against technology. I think I have to make that clear. They're starting to call some of us who are fighting this issue that we are anti-technology, terrorists and so forth. And that's not it. What I'm looking at is how it affects you personally. And AI is involved in everything that's going on right now. And the reason that they are building these massive data centers all over the country, 40 different states are being affected by this. And the reason that they're building so massive is because this AI has the ability to collect information on every single thing that you do in your life, who you associate with, where you travel to, what you buy at the grocery, what you own in your property, taking control of your bank accounts through digital accounts, digital passports that is the real thing. When you take all of this kind of information for every single person literally in the world, that explains why they need these massive buildings that are. I've jokingly said to some friends of mine driving past some of these that when you're driving past one building and in the middle of it, you have to take a lunch break, to go on to the rest of it. That gives you an idea of how huge these things are. And they are. There is one in Utah that they're planning that's going to take over 40,000 acres. And what they're finding in these data centers being piled everywhere, they're using massive amounts of electricity, and they're full of computers. That's what it's all about. All these data centers are the programs they're putting together, the files. They're all of these computers, and they need a cooling system to keep them from overheating the place. So they're using massive amounts of water to do that. And people in communities are now beginning to find that they're running into shortages of electricity or water. Their electric bills are going up. Their power grids are being threatened. And then when you have, this is one data center, but in many cases in Ohio, in Virginia, Virginia's number one on them. Texas is now under assault from a whole bunch of them. They'll have 5, 10, 15 of these data centers all in one area. Now that's more electricity, more water. And but the reason that they need all of this is they're collecting all of this information on you and your personal privacy, your personal private property, uh, how you operate, how you do, are being affected. Second thing beyond that is the promise is that they're bringing jobs in. Fact of the matter is, they are killing jobs. Oracle sent out a notice to their employees, 30,000 of them were going to be let go. And because they wanted to use the money from that, the payroll money, to build data centers. Zuckerberg has sent the same kind of note out for 8,000 of his employees. They're looking at the uh, instead of having employees in companies, they have the computer doing it. They have robots. They're now moving towards a robot society, car manufacturers particularly. And but you go to McDonald's now. You don't have somebody wait on you. You have a computer asking you what you want. That's why I don't go there anymore. Um, this is a real crisis for human society. And people need to understand it and know how to fight it because the promoters of this are coming to your city councils and saying, we're going to build one of these data centers and we're going to bring lots of jobs. And then you're going to have property taxes. Look at all the money that's coming into the community. You're going to have prosperity. None of that is true. They hardly have any employees working inside these data centers, and in many of the communities are giving them tax breaks to bring it in. And so neither one of those two things are true. This is what we're up against. And what I'm working so hard on is to try to take this information and get it out to the people so they understand what the threat is and why they need to stand up to this. Uh, Technology, fine, but your personal privacy is yours, and that is what needs to be protected.
That's amazing, Tom. And if I didn't have my attention there before, you got it there now with all you just shared. Thank you so much. It's definitely urgent and important. And hopefully it won't be true of the meme that you can lead someone to think. You can lead someone to knowledge, but you can't make them think. So that's what we're doing here today. But okay. Well, you mentioned that seeing the most effective grassroots movement you've witnessed. What are some of the most successful tactics that communities are using to push back?
Well, it really is what I've been advocating for many, many years that people needed to do. I'm seeing them do it. Uh, the the thing we have to understand is that in most cases, local people are not participating with their local government. And so your local elected representatives aren't really hearing from the people in most cases. So we found this as we were working to try to fight the whole sustainable development policies, Agenda 21, that sort of thing. And but these corporations and a lot of non-governmental organizations behind all of this agenda are there all the time, and they're coming into your local elected representatives, and they're bringing these ideas. They're telling them we're going to bring jobs, or we're going to bring money into the community, and they're not hearing from the other side. Uh, the other tactic that they're using is they're getting the city councilman to sign non-disclosure agreements. Don't tell anybody we're going to do this. We need to get this underway. Don't tell anybody. And so they deny what's going on. They don't tell the people, oh, we're going to build this big, massive data center in the community until it's already underway. And this has been happening. People are now starting to feel the effects of this. There are communities that are running out of water. Some people are saying they turn on their tap and nothing comes out of it, or a little drip comes out. Their electric bills are rising because of it. And uh, the a lot of these data centers are being built within a few hundred yards of people's private homes. And one of the other things that comes out of the data center is a massive noise pollution, a throbbing sound, boom, 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 24 hours a day. I've heard the videos with that sound on it. Now imagine you're trying to sit in your community, in your backyard. You want to have a barbecue with the neighbors, bump, 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 going on constantly. And so people have begun to realize there's a real problem here, and they're doing the right thing. They are showing up in strong numbers at city council meetings. They're passing petitions around to the community to get people to sign them. And the good news is that in many communities, people are starting to win, and local elected representatives are starting to realize there's a real problem here. Uh, that the polls show 70% of the American people are opposed to these data centers. And the good news, more than 50% of the proposed data centers still waiting to be built have been postponed or outright banned. And so this is what's beginning to happen.
That's very exciting. I almost raised my hand when you were talking about the noise. I've heard about that a little bit in passing, but I didn't realize it was 24/7. Are there residents calling in saying, what about the constitutional right to peaceful enjoyment
Yeah,
of
absolutely they are. And I mean, the other part with the throbbing sound is that the data centers have so many lights around them that it never gets dark. So you don't have any nighttime. This is another thing that happens. I mean, you're talking about massive buildings. As I jokingly said to you earlier, when you're driving past a building that's so large, you jokingly say you have to take a lunch break in the middle of it before you get to the other end of it. I mean, we're talking about massive buildings that people have never had to deal with before. This isn't a factory just being built there or a warehouse or something like that. These go on forever. And as I said, the 40,000 acres, there are, 10, it can be 10,000 acres. It can be many, many. They're all over the country that they're building them these monstrous sizes.
and where are they getting that real estate? Are they doing it through eminent
Yeah.
domain or land capture, land grabs? I don't know.
They're all these things they're using.
Right,
They're offering money in some cases
right.
to get the land. The farmers are really under siege, and
I would
they are
hope
using
so.
eminent domain in these cases. They came up with this thing that these are public utilities, and so the government has the right to use eminent domain to take it. Absolutely untrue. They are not public utilities. They're also telling us that they're the new infrastructure for the nation. No, it's not. We can get along just fine without any of this ever existing. But farmers are, we've been told by environmentalists for the last 30 years that we have to have all this open space for the environment so it can breathe, so wild animals have habitat, and on and on and on. And uh, now that open space that they've been demanding all these years is not only being buried under solar panels and the that happening, you see it for miles going on, but now it's being put under roof. And what and they are finding that there are environmental damages being done. These the data centers, along with the solar panels and so forth, are changing the atmosphere over them. It's warming. We've been warned all these years that we're going to have climate change because of what man is doing, which was totally untrue until now. And these things are making that true. That what man is doing is damaging the environment. Storms are getting stronger over some of them, and as I said, temperatures going up. Yeah.
In recent article, you called out specific lies being told by promoters, as you just shared. Excuse me. What are the biggest ones people need to watch for?
Well, the incredible thing that they're saying is, they are attacking us because we have begun to win some of these battles, and they're panicking over this. They're not used to people standing up like they are. And incredibly, as I have been working with local activists, people, residents, people living there, affected by all of this, all of a sudden, the word has gone out that the Chinese are paying for our opposition. That's why it's grown so fast. And that's that they're telling this that that's what's happened. And the whole argument here is that China is, we've got to stay ahead of China on AI development. The country that controls the AI and leads in that will lead the world. That is the argument that they're putting out. And so they're saying, well, China is affected by our growing our AI, and so China has come into this country to try to stop it. That is an absolute lie. I am working again in all these states. I'm seeing these people stand up, people who are affected by what's happening to their home, to their community, a rural community that used to be able to watch, look out and see the fields and see the animals grazing and all of that. Suddenly see roofs, buildings, these data centers, as far as the eye can see, they have destroyed the culture of that community, and people are upset about it and they're standing up to it. But this lie that China is paying for it, and the worst part, I have to tell you this, that I'm running into, uh, there are mainstream conservative organizations operating out of Washington, D.C., that have bit into the positive of AI, that we need to have this. And they are now, some of those, spreading the lies about China paying for this and attacking people like me who have worked with them for years, and saying that we are conspiracy theorists and working on this. And my response to them is, how can somebody who has worked for 30 or 40 years to save freedom not see the danger here, the damage of what we're threatened with here? Because I'm going to add one more thing to this whole thing with the data centers. And again, why they need to be them so big. People are now hearing about the flock cameras. 94,000 not flock cameras have been put in place already across this country. These are not just regular cameras. They have the ability to read your biometrics, to facial recognition and so forth. They tell us they're putting those cameras up just to watch for license plates on cars that maybe are speeding or doing something. That is absolutely untrue. They are able to put all of that information, where you go, who you're associating with. They can even pretty much look in those cameras and see what you're looking at on your cell phone if you're, if you're driving along. I'm not talking about you driving along, but people with you, they can break down your conversation and so forth. It's just amazing what they're able to do with these flock cameras. And again, they only are able to do that when they have the data centers to put it in.
Right. And I understand people, citizens are going out and having their vigilantism, and they're chopping them down. They're destroying them. And I'm going, yay. You know,
Yes, yeah, they are,
I think the
because
same thing about cell towers, but that's another topic. But yeah,
exactly the argument that these folks are using, you're mentioning, in fighting these flock cameras, and really the city councils are getting really packed with this. People have really picked up on that issue, and it is unconstitutional to collect all this kind of information on you without having a judge put something together that says they have the right to do that.
warrant.
And so that's one of the arguments they're using to fight these. Yeah.
It's amazing, Tom. Thank you for all your sharing. And I wanted to ask you, it's rather timely. I'm not sure quite how warm it is where you are, but here in Colorado, it's pretty toasty during the day. But, with the current widespread heat wave, drought conditions, and water restrictions in many states, including likely Virginia, do you think that this is helping draw more public attention and increase opposition to these massive data centers that consume enormous amounts of water and energy?
I definitely do. I mean, there are some places that are having droughts. We're not having a drought in Virginia. It's like stop the rain, but we that is an effective thing that people are noticing, and people are very very worried about their water supply because these data centers release that water after they've used it all through there. That's not clean, pure water. That's going into the stream that you and I are drinking from. And so, again, this whole thing of by what right do they have to do this? Who do your local representatives represent? You elected them to because they were candidates that talked about how they were going to protect your rights and build, promote your community for the future. And the people are standing up saying, we don't want these. And you've got elected officials that are working in the background with these non-disclosure agreements and so forth, probably padding their own pockets to bring these things in. Who do they represent? And this is a question we have got to start asking our local elected representatives.
Absolutely. I hope they're taking their vitamins and they're ready, and that there's an onslaught of those of us who are concerned. But so I'm wondering, how do these massive data centers connect with one another, with the infrastructure, with the grid?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're building buildings and they're just, plugging them in to the grid. Now the argument, what they're saying is that, well, all that massive use of the electricity and the water, those were old facilities. Our new facilities have new technology, and so they're not going to do all that. Totally untrue. I challenge you to find one single data center that is now operating that in the large size like this that isn't using that kind of electricity and that kind of water. Amazon is working to build one in Indiana that will use the electrical power of 1 million homes, the equivalent to 1 million homes. The one in Utah, the 40,000 acres, would use the electrical power equivalent of what they're using in the entire state of Utah right now. How long can the grid last when that is happening? But they're telling us, oh no, we're not going to be doing that anymore. And one of the things that they argue that they're going to use is nuclear power. And I would agree that that could solve a lot of it. Nuclear power can really put in, a massive amount. But they're building the data centers now. The nuclear power could be years away. They've got to get that approved through legislatures, through a Congress, whatever, where a lot of elected officials don't understand the difference between nuclear power and nuclear bombs. They're two completely different things, but they're afraid of nuclear power. That's why we stopped using it in the first place. And so, you can say, well, we'll do it with nuclear power. We're gonna have our own nuclear plant and everything. That isn't going to happen overnight. And meanwhile, people are still suffering from this. But I always caution people when they start saying, well, we could fix this problem. We could solve by going to nuclear power, or we could use less, we could all this. You still have got to focus on why are they building these data centers and that entire surveillance society. That is what needs to be controlled. If we are able to stop the building of these data centers, and I'm not saying get rid of all of them, but stop this massive growth, push back, then we can then control that surveillance system that they're trying to put in place because they won't have the capacity to do it. And that is my main focus on, as I drive to try to fight this.
Amazing. So, I mean, Tom, what would you say? What gives you optimism that communities can win these fights? And what message would you give to people just starting to organize?
Yeah. I am seeing victories taking place across the country where they are stopping some of these. They had one in Virginia that was going to it was going to be one of the largest ones in the whole world, and it was going to be right on the edge of Bull Run Battlefield, which is a sacred historic place here in this area. We're going to put it right there. They don't care. Put it right there. Local citizens stood up, and there were some organizations that work to preserve battlefields and that sort of thing that got involved, and they stopped it. There have been several other ones that they have stopped around the country. Huge in Texas, they've stopped some, and in Ohio, they've been able to do some things there and so forth. So some of these really large ones that they've been planning to put in place suddenly stop. Um, you now have a lot of elected officials that are listening. One of the things that has happened to some of the communities where the elected officials went ahead and ignored the people and did it, they got thrown out of office. In right here in Warrenton, Virginia, where I live, uh, they were planning to put this big, massive data center there for Amazon. And one city council, they all voted for it. Not one of them is now on the council. New people came in. This has happened in some places. They get them recalled and get them off their boards. In other places, election turns around. However, when it comes to elections, we have to understand again, we've got to be very careful with the whole AI thing because Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum made the comment that with AI uh, getting all this data, all this information, knowing everything that's going on, we won't have to have elections anymore because we already know what the outcome would be because AI would tell us. Have you ever heard of anything more terrifying in your life? The end of representative government, and we've been seeing this move even before the AI thing started, with the desire, the tactics to try to get rid of local representative government and have non-elected boards, regional councils, unelected by anyone. They're making all the decisions, and you end up having local elected representatives answering you by saying, "Well, there's nothing we can do about this. This is just the way it's done now," and that's how they've operated. That is changing. But one of the other threats that they're throwing out now, the data centers that maybe would be the city council would stand up and oppose it and block it. Now they're threatening to sue that community for that. And so the city councilmen say, well, we can't afford a big lawsuit on this, a big fight on that. We're going to have to just capitulate. We're going to have to do it. My response to that is, doesn't every city have a city attorney? Doesn't every county have one? Doesn't every state have an attorney general? What's their job? They are already on the payroll. They should stand up and represent the interest of the people. And so sit there and say, well, we have to capitulate to the suit is not true. You've already got people there to fight it. Do it.
Amen. Ah, well, Tom, I'm sure you know that Trump recently, I understand that he recently posted on social media calling data centers a tremendous win for states and communities and describing them as strong economic drivers, as you've mentioned. Given that 70% of the public in 40 states are pushing back, how should local communities respond so they protect their rights to decide about their own homes, property, and quality of life? And how can they effectively make their opposition felt? Loaded
It is
question.
it is very, very sad that Donald Trump is surrounded. He's got people in his administration, and he's working with these data, these tech centers and tech organizations and so forth. And he has been completely misled. I'm being kind to him now. He has been completely misled by these forces. And he has got to feel the pressure from the people. I see a lot of MAGA people who are now really questioning, and I'm beginning to be one, of how does this make America great again when you're creating complete tyranny over the free choices of American people and everything they do and say. And he's going to begin to really start to feel a loss of support. And we've got to make him feel that, because I think uh, if he's just been told this over and over and over again. We're bringing money to the communities. He said in this thing he posted, one of the biggest driving forces is in the future for jobs or data centers. They don't supply jobs. They're strong, bold, and money machines for the state. And the ones that bring that in are the smartest ones. They're the ones suffering the most from it. Every single thing he said in this report is untrue. And we have got to push back and tell him that. We don't have to be mean and nasty and call him traitor and all that sort of thing. But he needs to know he's on the wrong side of this one. And this is not, taking away people's private property, taking away their jobs, taking away their ability to build a life of their own, to make decisions on how they want to live, what they want to do. It's not how taking all that away is not how you make America great again. That's how you create tyranny. And China is real good at creating this kind of tyranny. And the idea of us competing with them, we have over 5,000 of these data centers now. We got over 4,000 more planned. China has 500 of them, and they're much, much, much smaller than what we have. How are they leading in all this?
Wow, this amazing information you're sharing with us, Tom. And as we're getting kind of close to running out of time for this one today, could you share with us where can people go to learn more or get involved in protecting their communities? And any
Yeah.
last comments you'd like to share, of course.
Sure. Well, I mean, we're really working on this, but trying to, for several years, through the whole Agenda 2030 stuff, to help show people how their communities are operating and why they don't listen to them and all that. It's all the same kind of thing. And you need to understand how to do the research, know what you're up against, how to organize, how to communicate. And my website, americanpolicy.org, we have information on this. We have a 35-year archive of articles there that we've done on so many of these issues, and now we've got a whole bunch of them on this issue, as we've been doing it the last several months. And I call it controlling or protecting your community. I call it building a freedom pod out of your community, and we have a whole section of that on there. Um, we are in the midst of preparing a booklet that will have all of these details in it that we want to get out to local folks all over the country. So very shortly, we hope to have that together. And it's been kind of hard because every day new stuff comes up we want to include in it. But we're getting there. We got about 90% done, so we're gonna get it ready.
That's amazing. So impressive. And I did want to add that in the down below in the show notes, you'll find a link to Tom's website with all of those great articles, as well as a link to the playlists showing the interviews that he and I and some others have done in the past as well. And hope you'll find that interesting. And Tom, any final words before we bring it to a close today?
Well, again, I'm going to go back to this thing of these attacks from a lot of these conservative organizations. This is
Absolutely.
my 59th year of activism for the cause of freedom. And by the way, China has not offered me a check. Not that I would take it anyway, but I mean, this is such a lie that China is paying for this opposition. I again, I cannot emphasize how these local folks who live there are the ones standing up there doing what communities are supposed to do. And to be attacked like that and have that kind of information go out is that just bothers me so much. I've been called a Luddite, because I believe all this, and and I'm just seeing the facts of what's happening. So don't let people talk you down like that to say, "Oh no, that's none of that's true." I absolutely guarantee you, everything I've told you today is absolutely true. And get involved in your community, and stand up because it's going to completely change your way of life. Think of your children. What's their way of life going to be like if this is allowed to succeed, where nobody has any choice anymore in how to live their own life? So,
Absolutely, Tom, and not that you need this by any means, but because I have known of you and your work for so many years, and thank you for all of that, that I can absolutely vouch for Tom's credibility. He would not have made it over 60 years being out there in the forefront of trudging along if he wasn't seeing a lot of victories and he wasn't effective. He's absolutely selfless in putting himself out there to lead the fray for freedom. So, Tom, thank you so much for all you are and do. And we appreciate you so much. Thank you.
thank you so much for the opportunity to get this out. Thank you for the
Okay.
help.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. We appreciate you. Bye for now.